Welcome to Little Wild Experiences podcast. I'm Zara, your host, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today as we explore the dynamic world of real estate and the role creativity plays in driving success in today's market. Today we have two guests. Josh Gold, with a Juris Doctor degree from Pepperdine University, brings a comprehensive understanding of law and a strategic mindset to every real estate venture. Having mastered the intricacies of legal frameworks and negotiation tactics during tenure at Pepperdine, seamlessly applies expertise to navigate real estate transactions with precision and finesse. His early days in the bail bond business established a thriving reputation for integrity, innovation, and a commitment to delivering exceptional results. And our second guest is Ashley England, and is a serial entrepreneur, a real estate investor who is on a creative finance journey where every real estate transaction or business acquisition she goes through, she intends to do with no money out of her pocket, showing the world how possible it is to acquire a house or a business with no money out of pocket. From Jamestown, Tennessee, a small town with a population of 18,000 people, Ashley England, a U.S. Navy veteran, ex-restaurant general manager, has now taken on this journey and creative finance. Today, she's here with us to explain some of the real estate transactions she's done over the last year. She started her journey in creative finance in February 2023. She later joined a mentorship called the Sub2 Community, which is led by Paige Morbid out of Phoenix, Arizona. She is been a member of that community for almost a year now and has given a permission to help other newly found investors get their first deal in creative finance. Hopefully, after today's podcast, we will all have the confidence to go out and acquire our first creative finance real estate deal, just like she has. So let's welcome Ashley England and Josh Gold. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I hear you.
I already introduced you, so you can start by telling a little bit about yourself, although I gave your about. So who's going to start, Josh?
Go ahead, Ashley.
Hi. So I'm Ashley England. I'm out of Tennessee, and I'm tackling the real estate industry through creative finance and looking to help people get their first deal. Or maybe even people who've gotten into a bad deal, get out of their bad deal. That seems to be what my focus has been as of late.
What about you, Josh?
Well, I'm a member of Astro, which is focused on market deals, and I just got introduced to the creative about 6 months ago. So I'm just looking to get on-market deals with low equity and just teach others as I go along, because I've been in this 20 years, give or take, with the realtor side and everything. And before that, with my bail bond business, it's all real estate related. So I'm just looking to pass it along, pay it forward.
Well, I think today's topic, is important because a lot of people know or have an idea of what real estate is. And we know the traditional process of real estate. We get listings, we have buyers, we have sellers. But there is another side of real estate that can be even more creative. And I think it can help even more, not only buyers and sellers, but also realtors. So I know Ashley is an expert in Sub2. So I just want to start with that because a lot of people don't know what subject to properties are. And this is a great side, in real estate to invest and increase investments in general.
Yeah, so something that I've noticed in today's real estate market as interest rates continue to rise, it's becoming more and more likely that we're able to get sellers and buyers on board with this new strategy called Subject to, where in essence you buy a property subject to the existing finance. So if there's a mortgage in place at 2, 3, even 4% interest, it's much better to leave a perfectly good mortgage in place instead of wiping it out with a whole new mortgage from a bank at 8% interest. So what it does for the buyer and the seller is it provides a lot more affordability monthly, and it gives them purchasing power. So if I buy a house for $500,000 at 2% interest, maybe my monthly payment is $2,500 a month, PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So if I can pay $2,500 a month and own a $500,000 house, why wouldn't I? Because in today's market, $2,500 might only get you a $200,000 house. So it grants you much more affordability.
I mean, that's great. And when I learned a lot from you, just, I admit that, and I think it's great. But, a lot of when you bring all this subject to deals to buyers and sellers in general, they get very skeptical about the pros and cons. So, taking over mortgage. So it brings a lot of questions. So I get the question. So what about if the seller goes, bankrupt or files bankruptcy? Or what about if the buyer stop, payments? Or what's going to happen to me because now that mortgage is under my name as a seller, but then someone else is making the payments. So what are the pros and cons, and what can the buyer or seller lose in worst case scenario?
That's a great question, Zara. And what we find most of the time, it's the three major objections. Objection number one is, what if they don't pay? So what if this person doesn't pay? What does that do to me and my credit? And a lot of times real estate agents will refer it to, you're just leaving the seller stuck with the bag. So that's not actually the case. I mean, we want to make these transactions as seamlessly as possible and protect both sides, right? We want this to be a true win for everyone. So what we do is we use a third-party servicing company. We'll even hold what's called a performance deed at that servicing company. So a performance deed also is just if you do not perform type of deed. So a deed that's already signed by the buyer that's held at this third-party servicing company, and they're neutral. They don't care who owns the property. So if there is this document, which is a deed signed by the buyer already, and if they miss a payment, that's their failure to perform. So that deed's already signed by them. It automatically goes back to the original seller. So at that point, the original seller has the opportunity to do with it what they wish. If they want to evict that person and get the house on the market to get it sold, if they want to rent it out, most likely they'll be in a better market with better interest rates. And anything that the buyer paid down on the property or paid over however many months they had it or years, they do not get any of that back. So that's the risk they take, is if they don't pay, they lose everything they've put into it. The risk to the seller is if someone doesn't pay, they have a performance deed in place to take that property back and then do what they want with it. That's the first biggie.
So what would be the process? So let's say someone fails on a payment. Let's say the buyer fails on one payment. What would be the process of taking that property back for the seller? It's that thing.
So the ownership piece happens pretty automatic. So that third-party servicing company, that's the neutral party, they've been given very specific instructions. If a payment's not made, automatically revert that deed back to the original seller. So they already own it again. And at that point, they would move to foreclose, or as an investor, something I do is I put non-foreclosure terms. So if I fail to pay, you don't have to foreclose on me. You take back ownership of the property, because likelihood of me even living in the property is very slim. I most likely have tenants in it as an investor. But if we're dealing with a buyer and a seller, it could get a little tricky, but we need to make sure that everyone understands the disclosures on the front end. If you failed to pay, the deed goes back to the original seller, and maybe we have some front end contracts in agreement that they now become a tenant, or they can do a rent to own at that point. At the end of the day, we don't want to kick people out of property. We want to keep a roof over someone's head. So whatever we got to do to work with that person, we'll work with them. If we got to change it to a rent to own, we do that. If we have to foreclose, we're not afraid to foreclose. We'll do that to get that person out of the property so that the house can now be sold. But it is one of the bigger objections that we come across. But I think in any real estate transaction, you're going to have objections and risks. And I like the odds in this scenario much better.
Now, why?
But we also...
No, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So we also use RMLO, which is Residential Mortgage Loan Originator. So that also brings comfort to the seller. We're going to route that person through RMLO. And what they're going to do is they're going to vet that buyer's background. They're going to make sure they have 2 years of consistent income, that they have the affordability to pay for this house, because you don't want to just throw someone in there and chance it. You know, even though this is a great way to buy and sell property, we still need to make sure that people are protected and, you know, that they're not taking an even bigger risk. We want to try to eliminate as much of the risk as possible, and we can do that by routing them through RMLO. And once we have RMLO stamp of approval that this borrower is a great borrower, then we feel much better about moving them into the property. It also makes the seller feel a lot better about moving them into the property, and it covers them so that if that time ever comes, this person misses a payment, well, at least that seller vetted the borrower that's moving into the property, and they did qualify. They did meet the requirements. So that's an important piece.
Yeah. So why would the seller sell that way and not the traditional way? What is the seller gaining out of it? That's important. I think so.
100%, especially in today's market. So when I got on the scene in late 2022, early 2023, there was still some activity on market, right? People were still buying the traditional way, and a lot's happened since then. You know, we've got wars going on around the country. We've got a new presidential campaign this year, election in November. So a lot of people are scared to move. They're scared to sell. They're not wanting to move their property. So that's made it extremely hard for real estate agents to get transactions completed a conventional way. So now if we can operate creatively, what's a benefit to the seller is they don't have to come down on price. They can now ask for whatever price they want because they're willing to be open to a creative solution. And also, if they want to go take a conventional mortgage in the future, we can structure things to where this no longer affects their debt to income ratio. So it's as if they never had that loan, or if that loan was completely wiped out, just the same as it would if you were an investor, you owned property with mortgages and you had tenants in them. Mortgage companies or banks will look at that and remove it by 75% of your debt to income ratio. So we can offer the same thing in a sub-2 scenario.
Josh, any questions that you think that come up with the subject too?
That's the biggest objection I have with the realtors is what's going to happen? What if I lose my house? Or they're just like in their mid 50s, early 60s, and they just don't understand the process that Ashley just laid out. But since they're playing the gatekeeper, you know, the community Ashley's with sub-2.
Oh, Josh is just now. Look, it keep coming back. What's happening with your network or signal? What's going on there?
I have no idea. It's perfect. I'm in the house. I'm right next to the network. I have no idea. But anyway, I Pace has a great video of the pros and cons of what a sub-2 can do. So I copy and paste it to all the realtors or whoever I talk to that's semi-interested. And that kind of gets over them a little bit. They're willing to play ball a little bit more. My experience.
Yeah.
With the YouTube video.
I do have a question, Josh. Sorry to cut you off, but you're the ones that make a lot of call to, you know, traditional realtors when they have houses listed, and then try to offer them the opportunity to have an offer, a buyer, bring in a sub-2 offer. But most of the time they reject that. They don't understand that. I'm trying to, because I know actually you've been in this business longer and you understand this better than probably we do. Why realtors don't know about this? This is what really makes me cringe. Why they don't understand that the benefits of a sub to offer.
I think some of them are just old and set in their ways. For example, my mother, who is not educated with the real estate, she thinks I'm going to go to jail for what we're talking about right now. Honest to God. So I can't even talk about this stuff with her. But just them in general, I just think they're used to the conventional way. That they don't think outside the box like that.
Oh my God, Josh. You can answer that question, Ashley, when it comes back. Look, here it is.
You keep going in and out, Josh.
Yep.
What was I?
So yeah, so everything Josh is saying is 100%. Most of the time you're dealing with agents who know what they know, right? We don't know what we don't know. And when I first got started in creative finance, I knew so much about sub two. It just made perfect sense to me. Matter of fact, to me, the person didn't even need to be in pain. I thought everybody should be buying and selling their house this way, because if we can eliminate the risk, then why wouldn't you? You can get top dollar for your property. We can all swap properties back and forth, and we're not using banks then. So banks aren't profiting off of the transactions. And it truly is something that agents, homeowners, and buyers can make all the money off of. But the problem is there just seems to be, and I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but it seems like there's somewhat of a connection between NAR and the banks. So it's
Absolutely
beneficial for agents to go the conventional route only, because brokers could be getting kickbacks, or whatever relationship there is with the mortgage lenders. They're receiving kickbacks. There's all this stuff that happens behind the scenes that most people aren't aware of that could push them to want to only do conventional transactions. And it's also because they're listening to their broker. When most of the time I tell them, why are you listening to your broker? You know why they're called a broker, right? Because they're broker than you and broker than me. So stop listening to them.
When I just called one of the agents the other day, they said they had to get their broker's approval for so-and-so creative offer. No, honest to God. It makes perfect sense.
Well,
Did you say you got to present any and all offers, agent?
That's exactly what I asked them twice. Will you present this offer? I present all offers. Okay. Then I asked
after your broker's approval.
Yeah. So now I'm starting to ask for cancellation letters to verify that they actually presented the offers that I present.
But first of all, you need any approval from any broker to present an offer. That's diligence. You need to be loyal to your client and to bring that's another thing. Like, I was talking to someone last time and I explained this up to transactions, why agents don't tell me that when I'm selling my house, because I would love to sell my house that way. This is amazing.
It's too outside the box, I think. What do you think, Ashley? The brokerage is out.
Yeah, I think that they're driven by conventional due to banks. This is not a new process. This process has been around since the 70s, and maybe even before then. So Pace Morby did not start the sub two transactions. Those were happening long before Pace Morby, but he sort of branded himself through sub two, and it's really kind of taken the world by storm. I mean, there's 14,000 people in our community, and that's nationwide. So, and every major market, it's being infiltrated, because I'll call agents in Dallas, Jacksonville, Florida, Nashville, and same thing. Oh, we've already gotten 4 sub 2 offers today. We're not doing sub 2. So when you are a disruptor, no matter what the industry is, when you're disrupting the mainstream norm, then of course everyone's going to be against you, because you're going against the grain. But if you stay consistent and you continue to do that, then it's only a matter of time before it gets easier and you can get the word to that seller. And I love working with realtors when realtors are more open-minded to these types of strategies. It's when they're not that it becomes so frustrating to work with them. And I'm hoping come July 1st, when the commission restructuring change comes live, I'm hoping that that forces listing agents to work more hand in hand with investors. And if we can, offer something creative to that seller, because you never know what the pain point is for that seller. And just something I notice as investors is we're asking totally different questions than an agent would ask. I don't care about price. I don't care what the condition of the home is. I only care about the motivation. Why are they selling? And I wish that realtors were taught this version of sales, because I think they would do a lot better. If the very first major question was the motivation, then now you understand your client's pain point. Now you know why they truly need to sell that property, so that you as an agent now know what type of pace to put it at. If this is somebody that's, hey, I would just like to sell it at some point. I'm not in a rush. I'd like to get closer to my grandkids, but I'm not going to take a lowball offer, right? Versus someone that's like, I have to move for a job. I just got my 2-week notice in. I need this property sold. Understanding the underlying motivation there is huge, because now as an agent which tool to pull out of your tool belt. Maybe this is good for creative. Maybe this is better for an on-market listing. And I wish that version of sales was trained more.
And you get more money in the end because you have more people affording houses, you have more sellers, you have more buyers, and it's a win-win situation. So a lot of realtors love the market. Who cares about the market when you are selling this way? Really, who cares?
That's true.
Now, Josh, you do wholesaling. That's another creative way of real estate. How long you been doing wholesaling for?
Around COVID-ish. Because we all got stuck around COVID.
Why did you start wholesaling? Because you're a licensed realtor in California, right?
Yes.
In California only, or somewhere else?
Just California.
And then you're not actually selling traditionally.
Only if if investors come to me, I'll do it that way. But no, I'm not actively searching it out.
Why wholesaling?
Because I got stuck at home and I found like Jerry Norton on YouTube, and then I found Jamil Damji, then I found Pace Morby, and I just started watching the videos, and it just struck my interest. Then it was
you can make more money.
It's just a million different ways to do things. I mean, that they all three have different approaches. Jamil was like on market, Pace was creative, and like Jerry was like a mix of everything. But there was it stimulated my mind where I wasn't stuck on get the highest home and get the 3 to 6% commission.
Any objections that you have gotten, like when it comes about wholesaling? Any objections from clients, or you mostly work with investors?
Any objection? The one objection I have is just like, well, it's not an objection, just like the people you work with, because a lot of them are just unethical. They'll just get something on paper, try to flip the paper really quick, and something will get screwed up with whatever title company, because whatever wholesaler just did something really quick, and everything was not done correctly somehow, some way.
Now, that's a good question. Did you need a license to do wholesaling?
No.
Not at all.
No.
So South Carolina just passed a bill. It's going into effect. I forget the date on that. They just passed it though.
But it was illegal. Right? Wasn't it illegal? It's illegal.
Yeah, Jerry Norton just. Yeah, so there's 3 steps to this law, and I'll read it to you guys. Jerry Norton posted it on Facebook.
Again, he would have. Josh, because
he follows it.
I don't know what's going on. I'm just sitting in front of my.
So what do you say? North Carolina, Ashley?
South Carolina.
South Carolina passed a law that now you need to be licensed to do wholesaling.
And I know Chicago.
No.
One, right?
Well, I mean, the law is pretty specific. I gotta find where I saw that. Because it was like a catch-22. It was like, You cannot wholesale real estate unless you have a license, but then it also says as a licensed realtor, it is illegal to wholesale real estate.
It's illegal.
Trying to
Wholesale
find
real
this
estate.
post. Well, this is something NAR has been working to pass for a while. And, they got caught with their pants down. That's why that lawsuit went forward. And they lost because they were so worried about what wholesalers were doing.
But Illinois is like one transaction that you can do, isn't it? Isn't that correct? And then something with Montana, I think I could be wrong.
And Montana?
I think I could be wrong. I don't have it in front of me. If you see my internet is all bad.
So let's see. I can find this. Come on. First, wholesaling is legal, but you must follow certain statutes to comply with state law. They aren't complicated, but if you follow the letter of the law, if you don't follow the letter of the law, you could face fines, penalties. I know some people that wholesale in states that it's illegal, and they'll just take the $500 fine because they're making $20,000. So they're like, okay, fine me.
And this is the thing, when you do wholesaling, you don't have to share commission with your broker. Josh?
I have never done wholesaling in California for that reason alone. Because I never wanted to get
right. So you just do out of stay because you don't have a license. And basically, if you invest, it's like an investor.
I didn't, right. And if I didn't want to get in any of that promotion with my Keller Williams at that time. Because you're with Keller Williams, they're very strict. You got to pay all these fees, etc.
Yeah. But this is the thing. This is the thing that I tell realtors, and also I'm not talking about new realtors. I'm talking about realtors that have been in the business for so long, and still they're like, "Oh no, I can't do that. That's illegal. Oh no, I don't want to get in trouble." So basically, when you perform a real estate transaction, as long as you are not representing anybody and your role is other than a real estate agent, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're 100%. Yeah, but you're asking about the wholesaling the deal?
When it was wholesaling or anything in general. Because the point of the realtor is to represent a client, which to the best of, right. But when you do wholesaling or when you let's say you just want to help someone out, you're not representing anybody. You're not signing any contract with anybody. Oh, Josh, to represent a client, then that's not a traditional real estate transaction. I would say that's more, you're an investor.
You're an investor. You just want to get lined up with the right people so everything goes smoothly.
So you're not using your license, so then you don't have to share any profits with a broker.
No profits in the broker. That's what got me really motivated to do this, other than just being stuck at home at COVID. Because I was getting like 90, I had to pay like 10%, I think. To save that 10% or so was a big deal in whatever transaction it was. So to go to Vegas, to go to Florida.
Can you guys, I don't know if you guys can hear this.
Okay, play this. You're probably going to have to place it closer to your microphone. She's on and off. Can you hear that? Can you hear that, Josh?
That's Norton.
Well, we're gonna have to maybe recap that for the audience.
So here's what he says. He says South Carolina is passing a bill to regulate wholesaling, which says you cannot wholesale real estate unless you have a license, unless you're a licensed real estate agent. But at the same time, if you are a licensed agent, you are not allowed to wholesale real estate. So it's like so I can't wholesale unless I have a real estate license. Oh, by the way, if I have a real estate license,
You
it's
cannot hold.
outlawed for me to wholesale.
So the only thing to do, question for you guys, is like to like double close or to flip an LLC. For South
Yeah,
Carolina,
so here's the thing. For every law that comes out, it's only a matter of time before somebody finds a way around that law. And it's already happening in other states that's banned wholesaling. So instead, you purchase the property in an LLC and then you sell the LLC. You create an LLC, so you don't even have to acquire the property yet. You can go under contract to purchase the property as this entity's name, and then you can turn around and you can sell that entity to the end buyer. So create a Michigan entity for $50 and then sell that Michigan entity to the end buyer that you wish to wholesale the property to.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they try to shut it down, look, we've known this since alcohol prohibition. I mean, every time the government tries to prohibit something, there's going to be that much more force behind figuring out a workaround. And look, these people are doing it too. Government officials, they're using loopholes in the tax law to avoid paying taxes. So it's the bureaucracy of it. It's no matter what, this is going to be happening, and you just have to figure out a workaround. So you just have to stay on top, be willing to be adaptable and flexible to whatever's being thrown at you, work around it, and keep it moving.
absolutely. And even that's a way of a creative finance is flipping the LLC or double closing. In my opinion,
Can you explain a little bit of that, Josh? Because some people probably don't know what that means. Double
Which one?
closing. Double closing.
well, I'm not as eloquent as Ashley. I wish I could.
What is double closing?
You go to the title. If you and I had a transaction, I would go there first, and then like 5 minutes later, it would close. You would put your money in, and it would flip to you. Ashley can explain it better than I could. I'm not an explainer. I just know I know what it is. It's like that.
So if you're double closing a property, that means you're taking funds and you're going to go close escrow to take ownership of this property. And then 24 hours later, or maybe even 5 minutes later, you're doing a secondary transaction where the end buyer comes in and buys that property. So there's multiple ways you could do it. If you have a great relationship with that end buyer, you can have them finance the first purchase so that you can close with them, and then you're just deeding the property over in the second. Or you go to a bank, take out the loan to purchase the property, turn around, close it with the investor. They pay it. You pay that money back to the bank plus whatever interest they wanted off of it. And then you could use private money, DSCR, hard money and private money, whatever, acquire the deal, turn around, sell it to the end buyer who wants the property. So that, because the way they define wholesaling is that you are selling the contract. You're not selling the actual property.
Mm-hmm.
So if you acquire the real estate and you do have possession of the real estate now, you're selling your property, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know what that means as far as like tax implications or, do you have to claim 100% of the spread on that as capital gains? I don't know. That's where I kind of fall off on what that looks like.
So in general, why people will benefit more? Do you think people will benefit more doing this, being creative in real estate than just using traditional methods to buy
leverage?
But it's a leverage. How do you think more people can get more into this and understand that this is, my opinion is the best way, even from the realtor's perspective. as from the realtor's perspective, as from the seller and buyer's perspective. But how do you convince
Well, I
people?
think it's getting more out there. The more realtors I've talked to seem lately, they seem to be more keen on what this is. But Ashley just went to like a big summit, I believe, in Orlando, and there was like about 10,000 people there or so, give or take.
Yeah,
In Orlando.
there was
So
several
it's
thousand.
just more podcasts and just lots of things like Ashley goes through. Like the communities, like I'm Astro. I don't know how big that is. It's almost as big as isn't it sub two? It's almost the same.
Well,
I don't know numbers,
so
but just
Pace and Jamil are best
like
friends. So
yeah.
like when they started Owners Club, that was open for both Sub 2 students and Astro Blaster. So yeah, we're all family in the Sub 2 and Astro Blaster. This is the shirt that I got at the Sub 2 Summit. So it has both Sub 2 and Astro Blaster logo on there. And then it says, you know,
Squad, can read. It reads squad. Oh, Summit Squad. Yeah.
But
so what up
think
Summit 2024. But yeah, just more awareness, just doing stuff like this podcast, social media, putting yourself out there in the public eye to talk more about this and really like how many problems are being solved. So like Zara, what we're doing with your property or what we do for someone else's property, we can solve a problem and help that owner and buyer get exactly what they want. You're able to walk away with exactly what you want out of that property. And you know that you would have never been able to get that on market with an agent and a broker involved. Your buyer would have never been able to buy that property because he would not have qualified for conventional lending because he owns a small business. It's not that he doesn't earn an income. He earns more income than most.
Yeah.
You know, he's definitely in the higher earning income bracket. But that's what I come across a lot is small business owners who don't qualify for conventional lending. So, you know, we're in the process of starting a big, large disposition company. So if we're able to bring properties in that we could turn around and offer those as affordable housing to people who don't qualify for conventional lending, now we're solving problems at scale and it's a big win.
How do you join that community, Ashley? Like if realtors want to join that Sub 2 community, who should they reach or who should they talk to? What will be the first step?
That's a great question. And I am an affiliate for the community. So if they go to sub2.com, if they mention my name, I can get them in the program as an affiliate. But Pace Morby's wife is a real estate agent for EXP. So, you know, and he was an agent prior. I mean, he was a contractor agent, had his real estate license, been through the whole thing, but his wife is still a licensed agent. She listed a lot of the properties that they flipped, and she's maintained her license. So, she loves to onboard more people into EXP and make them agents underneath her. So if you're an agent and you want to join Sub 2, you want to learn more of these creative strategies, not because you want to veer away from conventional, but you want to have the extra tools in your tool belt so that when you do have a client that it's better fitting for, you now know how to have that conversation with your client.
How did you, is there anything that you had to pay if you want to join that community?
Yes. So it does cost, like any mentorship would cost, like it costs to get your real estate license, like it costs to get the material to do the test. You have to be willing to pay money to make money. And it's a $10,000 entry, but you're receiving $1 million education. So if you use it and you involve yourself in the community, it'll be limitless to the amount of deals that you can do. And now you're not just going to be doing real estate transactions. You're going to be doing business acquisition transactions as well, because they just added Zero Down to the platform, where he works with Matt Sorensen on how to buy businesses with no money out of your pocket.
So literally, if you're Sub 2, basically, so if I wanted a house, you know, with like, for example, an average, I mean, I'm talking about Tennessee, say, we have like, in order for you to get a house with a huge backyard or like, I don't know, an acre at least of it, and 5 bed, 3 bed, let's say, a beautiful home, that's going to cost you close to $1 million, let's say, in a really good location.
If not more.
If not more. And you can imagine the monthly mortgage of that property is going to be probably over $4,000. I mean, depending on what kind of loan you get, or probably $10,000, depending what kind of loan you get, depending on your down payment, we don't know. So, and to get qualified for it in the first place. But that property 10 years ago or 15 years ago was not $1 million or more. Probably cost $500,000 or maybe around that. Let's just give and take. So the mortgage of that property is going to be, I would say for, I don't know, I'm just throwing a number right there, probably $3,000 top for that huge property. So that means you can acquire that house, just to make it clear for the audience, with only closing costs.
It's possible you can get in with no money out of pocket. Those deals are very rare, but that's why it's important that you have the relationships with private money lenders or just other people that can help you acquire deals. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
But there is a downside. How do you start looking for, because this is what the traditional real estate have, right? And we are working with clients right now that don't understand that. We have one, right? I don't want to mention names, but they just go and think that you can go and just see properties and then say, hey, I want this one. This is the one I want.
Yeah.
I don't like this one. Oh, no. This house, I don't like the patio. I don't like this. So when you're acquiring subject to property, you need to be aware that it's something that it takes time, and why it takes time, and how do you look at houses? Because it's not necessarily they have to be listed, correct?
Right. I mean, we're sourcing deals on market and off market. Josh has been great at reaching out to whether they're on market or off market. And again, you never know the situation someone's in. And I always like to tell people, no just means no right now. Life could happen. We spoke to an agent, what was that, yesterday or the day before? And
Sure.
She had a lot of noise in her background, and
oh my God,
we won't mention any names, but yeah, she had a lot of noise in the background. She puts us on hold and leaves us there. Now, here's the thing about that person. They've already moved. They have a new monthly payment. And if she's not able to sell her property for the number she's trying to get or needs to get, she's going to be thinking of people like us. And the reason we're going to make sure she's thinking of people like us, because we're going to consistently reach out to her and, hey, so-and-so, how's the sale going? Did everything work out with your buyer that you mentioned you have? And then when I ask her, why is it that you're selling the property, or why do you want to sell it conventionally? And she says, well, we need money. Okay, well, why do you need money? I'm going to ask those uncomfortable questions. A lot of people get uncomfortable when you talk about money. Mm-hmm. And it's just because nobody ever taught us money and how money has no real intrinsic value. And we've always been taught to save or use banks. And so because we have all these false beliefs around money, it becomes very uncomfortable to talk about it, working it out.
That's the biggest drawback of getting a license. They don't go over that. Exactly. They just, go for the biggest house, etc. But if they taught you about money, they go over the solutions that you're talking about.
Right.
In general, or they give an agent at least to open their minds up to that possibility, and that would be beneficial to so-and-so clients.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ashley. I'm sorry I cut you off. My bad.
Oh, no, I was just going to add to that and say, I heard once that it's not what you don't know that hurts you. It's what you matter of fact know that you really don't. So that's why I say new agents are really good to start pulling over to this side, because they're eager, they're willing to try new things. Whereas people who have been in agents for 25 years or more, they have had success in one way. So they're not willing to veer out of that one way and they don't even realize that, yeah, maybe they found some success in this path, but oh my God, they could be 10xing it if their mind was open to other possibilities. So it's not what you don't know that hurts you. It's what you know for sure that you really don't.
That's true. Like two agents that I really like, or that really like me. One is in Miami, and he must be 22 years old or so. And another one, it was in Wisconsin. And they call or text or send me whatever they have for that exact reason. They want to be educated. They just want to make money. They want to know all the different ways that can happen. How can I help my clients? They're so open-minded because they didn't get brainwashed by other agents or by their brokerage or by whoever.
Or just by having success in transactions.
Well, that's great points.
I wonder what is, it's funny because NAR has this lawsuit that's coming up. I don't know what's going on. We don't really know until July, I believe, right? July, is that when it's going to settle? July.
Well, so the lawsuit's already settled, but the commission reform start date is July 1st. Now, there's going to be several lawsuits that follow this lawsuit because this lawsuit was a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit. And, this goes back to most of the time you'll hear investors say that agents only care about their commission. And it's unfortunate, no agent's ever going to admit that, but because the commission percent has always been reported on the MLS or Zillow, buyer's agents just would not show certain property unless it said 3%. They're like, I'm not going to show that unless I'm going to make 3% on it. And there's some agents that think that this is not going to change the game at all. Instead of it being listed, now it's just going to have to be a phone call. And I just hope that agents operate with integrity. And I hope that if there's a call, they don't answer it and they don't answer that question because it's going to make a difference in whether or not their client's property gets sold.
How would that affect the buyer's agent in a way? Because they're not going to get paid the same way.
Well, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that you're going to make money out of the transaction as a buyer's agent. So if there's no guarantee for you to make on the transaction, now you need to get your buying client under contract, which is actually, in my opinion, the better for buyer's agents. Yes, you should be getting your client under contract anyways. So your job is to go out there and spend your time finding a property that suits their buy box or suits their needs, right? And that's a job. You're putting your time into something that needs to come at a cost. And, I think that we can totally normalize that. It was normalized the other way. Well, let's normalize this. Let's normalize your clients paying you to go and find them a property.
Josh, you still having issues with your networking?
Oh, I lost them. No, I was going to say about that. I think they're just going to do some type of deposit or that's going to, for a lot of people, some buyer's agents will.
But you're going to have to, because if you think about it, as a buyer's agent, you're just driving around all over town, showing them houses, and clients think like you're just like, oh, well, I have my agent. Don't you think that your agent is spending gas, spending time, and on the top of that, you had to go over to paperwork. You have to go over paperwork and make sure everything is on point. So somehow I think the buyer's agent is going to have to require a deposit. I don't know how legal that might be. I don't know if that's something that they should add into, but it really bothers me, the way they came up with this lawsuit, but then the broker's commission is still had to be there, which in my opinion is like what exactly the broker is doing.
Well, I think eventually that will go away too. That is the old way of thinking. And it's, hey, I'm going to sit back and do nothing and collect money off all these people that work underneath me because somehow my broker's license is providing this insurance shield over all of my agents. And that just is not necessary anymore. And that's why I like the EXP model, because the EXP model You don't have a broker that you're kicking back to. You have an amount you pay into the same thing that everyone else benefits from. You benefit from it in the long run. You're buying into ownership of EXP. It's owned by the agents, not the people on top. So I like their model a lot better.
So EXP, they do charge you monthly, right?
I think about what was it, 85, $90? When I was there, it was about that.
You have like a threshold. So when you're a new agent, you have to meet a certain threshold. So like your first transaction, maybe $2,000 of that goes, but then you have like another grand you have to pay for the whole year. So once you've paid that, you now no longer have to pay on any of the deals you do. And that starts over every year. But that money is going in to supply whatever is needed in education, training, all of that, insurance. So everybody's buying into it. And you do that at the start of every year. And then the longer you're with them, the more transactions you do, the more ownership you get over the overall company. So a lot of
caps. You don't have to meet a cap.
Yeah. Just like every other brokerage probably has a cap to meet. And some collect off every one of your deals. But what's great about EXP too is you can now go out here and recruit more agents to work underneath you, and you get a piece of their transactions up to a certain amount. So you're training them, they're under your wing, you get a little portion of their transactions until they're on their own 2 feet and continue on. And that restarts every year. So it's nice. And you're teaching them the same way. Hey, go and train some more agents to work underneath you so that you can make off of them. Some people call it a pyramid scheme, but
kind of a work, it sounds like, but I think Keller Williams has something similar. As
they do.
Yeah, they do.
But it's not the owner. I don't think they offer the ownership, the ownership like BXP does. I could be wrong.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. Okay, so it's kind of like you own a share of it. Oh, Josh.
So you get whatever from your team members. You get a little slice of that.
Yeah, it's profit sharing. It is like a profit sharing.
Like a profit, okay, like a stock, kind of like something like that. You have a share of it. Okay. So what's the takeaway of being creative in real estate? I'm gonna let you go for either one.
The takeaway: more people should be open-minded to do it for financial reasons and just to help so-and-so buyer or seller, because it would give the realtor's perspective more business in the long run, because they'll buy one house, they'll buy another house with 10 grand down, another house with 30 grand down, or just like Ashley was saying, just the closing costs. In a perfect world, you never know. It's just ongoing instead of 1 or 2 transactions.
Go ahead.
Leverage, just leverage. That's all.
Yeah, I think that it allows for more and more transactions to take place. If we're doing things creatively, it allows for more buyers to buy. It allows for more sellers to sell and get exactly what they're wanting out of it. So if we can change the world, 1 transaction at a time, let's do it.
And help more people to acquire real estate and in the end invest and then benefit from those investments, which a lot of the times, a lot of people, oh my God, I can't buy a house. It's too expensive. The market is awful. It's not helping me. Well, guess what? There are different ways to acquire real estate and you don't have to spend a dime. So if they want to reach out to you, Ashley, I just put your put your phone number right there. But for the ones, this is going to be on Spotify, so they're not going to be able to see anything. If you can just go over that, your phone number and your email. And Josh, if you want to reach out to you as well, your number is there and your email, so you can go for it.
Yes, reach out to me at 818-235-4796. And my email, Josh, Season Charlie Gold, Gmail.
And you have an LLC as well, Josh?
I do have an LLC.
What's your LLC?
Gold Investments LLC.
And mainly focuses on wholesaling, correct?
Yes, wholesaling and the creative side. Yes.
And what's your Instagram handle?
I wish I knew.
You
Something
need an
that's fun with them.
Instagram.
I do. I have one. I don't know what it is. I swear to God, you caught me off guard with that
Well,
question.
pull it up. Oh, are you on your phone right now?
No, phone's in the other room.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, so they
You caught
can
me off guard.
email you and get your Instagram handle. So
Not really.
my cell phone number is 931-510-7499. It's really difficult to get a hold of me, so you're better off texting. My email is ashley@stellarsre.com, and Stellar is STELLARSRE.com. My Instagram handle is Ashley, ASHLI_Ray, RAE. So you can message me on there as well.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much. And I hope this information is very useful for many. And hopefully we can, we'll have another one that provides more information about creativity in real estate.
Yeah, maybe we can break down some HUDs next time.
Yeah.
Show people what HUDs look like or what transactions we've done. Talk to some people that we've done transactions with, and that would be cool.
Yeah, I think the next one we should break down more about what a sub to property, sell looks like from, from the beginning to the end.
We have your house discussed for that.
Yeah,
that's right. True. We can use that as a, as a training.
Yep. I
do a spotlight on it.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching our podcast or listening to. This is going to be recorded on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So you can actually go back to it and listen to. I hope this was very beneficial for you. And as is on the screen, we already mentioned how you can reach Josh Gold and Ashley England. For me, you can reach me at 646-667-6881. And my email is Zara, ZHARA, NashvilleRealtor@gmail.com. It's better for me if you text me, as I'm constantly receiving calls, so it's very hard to get a hold of me. But I always reply. So thanks again and have a great one. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.